telling him what's wrong.
That's just saying that you're so proud.
Stop this nonsense right now. You're embarrassing yourself and me.
Welcome, friends. Today's story will touch your heart. The grand wedding hall was filled with laughter, music, and shining lights. The bride, a beautiful millionaire woman, walked proudly down the aisle. Her gown sparkled like diamonds, but her heart was covered with pride. She looked at the groom's family standing quietly at the back, simple clothes, humble faces holding a small bouquet they had brought with love. The bride whispered to her friend, "Look at them. They don't even belong here," she laughed softly. But the groom heard it. His smile faded. He said nothing, just lowered his eyes. When the priest asked if they were ready, the groom turned around and saw his parents walk forward. His father's hands rough from years of hard work. His mother's eyes shining with pride and love. They carried a small wooden box. The hall went silent. The father opened it, revealing an old pair of shoes, worn out but clean. "Son," he said softly, "these are the shoes you wore when you walked 5 miles to school every day. We kept them to remind us how far you've come." Tears filled the groom's eyes. The mother said, "We may not have gold or fame, but we raised you with honesty, respect, and love. That's our treasure." The bride froze. Her eyes trembled. For the first time, she felt ashamed. She slowly walked toward them, knelt down, and said in a trembling voice, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. You are richer than anyone I've ever met." The father gently placed his hand on her head and said, "Welcome to our family, my daughter." The hall filled with tears. Not of sadness, but of love. Pure, real love that no money could ever buy. Friends, true wealth is not counted in money, but in hearts that love without pride. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness. The wedding was over, but the words of the groom's parents still echoed in everyone's hearts. The bride sat alone in the quiet corner of the grand hall, her makeup fading, her eyes full of tears. The sound of laughter and music had stopped, only silence surrounded her. She looked at her hands, the diamond ring sparkling, yet her heart felt empty. Her mind replayed every cruel word she had said about his simple family, their clothes, their shoes, their quietness. "How could I?" she whispered, her voice breaking. At that moment, the groom walked in. He had taken off his suit jacket, his sleeves rolled up. He looked at her, not with anger, but with deep sadness. "I never wanted wealth," he said softly. "I only wanted love that sees beyond money. You insulted the people who gave me everything I have. Every value, every strength." The bride stood up, tears falling down her face. "I know," she said, her voice trembling. "I was blind. I thought love was about status, about perfection. But your family showed me what real love looks like." Then something unexpected happened. The groom's mother slowly entered the hall holding a tray of food. "You haven't eaten all day, my dear," she said gently. "You must be hungry." The bride's lips shook as she took the plate. Her tears fell into the food. "You're still being kind to me. Through everything I said." The mother smiled faintly. "Child, forgiveness is what makes a family strong. We all make mistakes, but love teaches us to forgive." The bride broke down, sobbing like a child. She held the older woman's hands tightly, saying, "I don't deserve this love, but I'll spend my whole life trying to." The groom stood silently beside them, his eyes filled with emotion. He finally whispered, "Now you understand what it means to be rich. Not by money, but by heart." And at that moment, the cold millionaire bride was gone. What remained was a woman with a humble heart, ready to start a new life with the family she once mocked. Now the family she would die to protect. Friends, never judge someone by what they wear or where they come from. True hearts shine brighter than diamonds. Days passed after the wedding, but the bride couldn't forget that moment when the groom's parents forgave her instead of hating her. Their kindness haunted her heart like a soft, painful memory. One morning she decided to visit them, not as a rich bride, but as a humble daughter. She removed her jewelry, tied her hair simply, and wore a plain dress. Her driver offered to take her, but she shook her head. "No," she said quietly, "today I'll go on my own." Just like they once walked for miles to raise the man I love. The journey was long. Dust covered her shoes and the sun burned her face. But her heart was calm for the first time in years. When she reached their small house, she stopped. It was old but clean. The garden was full of flowers and the sound of birds filled the air. She saw the groom's mother sitting outside sewing an old shirt. The woman looked up in surprise. "My child?" she said softly. "You came all this way?" The bride fell to her knees, tears pouring down. "I came to apologize again. I insulted you in front of everyone. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I can't live in peace without it." The mother's eyes filled with tears. She reached out, lifting the girl's face gently. "You already have our forgiveness, my dear. We never held anger in our hearts. We prayed for you instead." The father came out, wiping his hands. You're your family now. Sit, child. Eat with us." The bride looked around. No gold, no marble, no servants. Just love. Pure, unselfish love. She sat on the floor and ate the simple food they had made. Each bite tasted warmer than anything she had ever eaten in her mansion. Yes, I talked. She noticed an old photo hanging on the wall, the groom as a little boy, barefoot, holding his parents' hands. Her eyes filled again. You gave him everything, and I almost destroyed that love with my pride. The mother smiled gently. Sometimes God breaks our pride so he can fill us with love. That's what he did for you. At that moment, the groom entered quietly. He had followed her there. He saw her sitting on the floor beside his parents, her white dress dusty, her eyes red from crying, but she looked more beautiful than ever. He knelt beside her and said, "Now you truly belong here." The bride pressed her forehead to his shoulder and whispered through tears, "I finally found home. Not in gold, not in mansions, but in your family's hearts." The small house echoed with quiet sobs and soft laughter. A family united by forgiveness, not fortune. Friends, sometimes the richest people are those who own nothing but love. Weeks passed, and the once proud millionaire bride was no longer the same woman the world had seen on her wedding day. Her heart had softened. Her smile had changed. Now it carried peace, not pride. She spent her mornings with the groom's parents, helping in the kitchen, learning their ways, and slowly building the bond she had once broken with her arrogance. One evening, as the sun was setting, she saw her father-in-law coming home from work, his shirt soaked with sweat. She ran to him, holding out a glass of water. "Baba, please drink this," she said gently. The old man smiled, his tired eyes shining. "You remind me of my wife when she was young, always worried about others." The bride lowered her eyes, trying to hide the tears. "I used to think love was about showing off, about being seen by the world, but your family showed me it's about caring quietly, without expecting anything in return." The groom walked in just then, watching silently as his wife folded his mother's laundry and placed it carefully in a wooden chest. His heart swelled with pride, not for her beauty, but for her change. Later that night, a sudden storm hit the village. The roof began to leak. Wind howled through the small windows, and everyone ran to cover the furniture. The bride held the old mother's hand tightly, helping her move the things to safety. When lightning struck nearby, the mother gasped in fear, but the bride hugged her, whispering softly, "Don't be scared. Mama, I'm here." The groom's mother wept silently. "You've called me Mama," she said in a trembling voice. The bride smiled through tears. "Because that's who you are. You taught me more in these few weeks than I learned in all my rich years." When the storm calmed, they sat together in the dim light of a candle. The father hummed an old song from his youth. The mother rested her head on his shoulder, and the groom held his wife's hand. And for the first time, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like their daughter. Then the bride quietly took out something from her purse, her diamond necklace. She placed it in the mother's hands and said, "Please sell this and repair the roof. It's useless to me now. I already have everything I need right here." The old woman tried to refuse, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Child, we can't take this." The bride shook her head gently. "You already gave me more. Your forgiveness, your love, your home. Let me give something back." The groom looked at her, eyes shining with emotion. "You've become the woman I always dreamed of," he whispered. The mother hugged her tightly and said, "No, my daughter. You've become the woman God wanted you to be." The small room filled with tears, but this time, they were tears of healing, of love reborn, of a family made stronger through forgiveness. Friends, love doesn't come from money. It grows from kindness, humility, and the courage to change. Welcome, friends. Months had passed since that unforgettable wedding, the day when pride met humility and arrogance melted into love. The once proud millionaire bride was now a daughter, a wife, and a soul reborn. But life had one more test waiting, one that would show what true love really means. It was a cold winter morning. The groom's mother had fallen ill. Her weak body lay on the small wooden bed, her breathing shallow. The bride sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, whispering prayers through trembling lips. "Mama, please don't leave us. You promised you'd teach me how to make your favorite bread." The old woman smiled faintly, brushing away the bride's tears. "My child, you've already learned the most important thing, how to love. That's all I ever wanted from you." The bride broke down, resting her head in her lap like a little girl. "You changed me, Mama. You showed me what real love is. If you go, who will I call mother again?" The father came closer, his eyes wet. "She will always be your mother, my daughter, even when she's not here." The groom stood in silence, his hand on his mother's forehead, tears rolling down his cheeks. The air in the room was heavy with emotion. The flickering candle cast soft shadows on the wall, and then, with one deep breath, the old woman smiled peacefully and slipped away. The bride screamed, hugging her tightly. "No, Mama, please don't go. I still need you." But there was no reply, only a calm stillness, like she had left her pain behind and gone to heaven. Days later at the funeral, the bride stood in front of everyone, dressed simply, her eyes swollen but strong. "When I married into this family," she said softly, "I came here with pride and empty hands. But this woman gave me everything. A mother's love, a home, a reason to change. She taught me that love is not shown in gold or words, but in the way we care for each other. She placed a white rose on the grave and whispered, "Thank you, Mama. You didn't just forgive me, you made me human." The groom walked up and held her hand. "She's watching us," he said, "and she's proud of you." The father joined them, placing his hands on their heads. "She left us together for a reason, to keep spreading the kindness she lived for." The three of them stood together as the wind blew gently through the trees. The bride looked up at the sky, her tears glistening like diamonds in the sunlight. "I used to think being rich meant having everything," she said quietly. "Now I know true wealth is having love that never dies." Years later, whenever someone asked about her story, she would smile and say, "I was saved. Not by wealth, not by fame, but by a mother's love." Friends, sometimes the richest people are those who give, not those who have. So never let pride steal your heart, because kindness can turn even the coldest soul into light. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness.